Today I'm going to show you how to create a melodic techno track in the style of artists such as Korolova. Why? Well, she's a fellow countrywoman of my wife, here they are together, and we saw her perform at Ultra last week and had a good old dance. So I'm going to uncover 5 secrets to creating melodic techno, and then at the end I'm going to reveal them as well as play the entire track. But I want you to write down as you're watching, as and when you see one of these secrets uncovered, because it's going to help you internalize these techniques and create your own original sounding music, but in the genre of melodic techno. I want to say a huge shout out to our accelerator students who have achieved some incredible things this year already, and you can check their music out using the link below the video and decide if you want to make professional sounding music too. As usual, you can download this project file, all the samples completely free, so without further ado, let's hop into the door and get it done. Okay, let's do it. No cuts, no edits. I don't have much time, so I'm going to show you as much as I possibly can. First, let's get our magic list. That's what it looks like today. And that's how we're going to make music like Korolova. I was going to expose my midriff for the entirety of this video, but you're not ready for that. So first thing we want to do is get a kick in there. I'm going to set it to 126 BPM because that's our melodic techno tempo. And I'm just going to go to my favorite kicks, and I'm going to pick the best kick in the world, Will Kick 3. Oof, suits you, sir. So let's pop that in. It's melodic techno, so it goes boom, boom, boom. I want you in my room, like so. There we go. Next thing I want to do is get some beats in there. So once we've got the kick drum, we need to get that other beats in there to help give us a groove to which we can build the bass line, which is coming very soon. So next thing I'm going to do is create a simple little riff, 16th hats, but I'm going to show you something pretty cool. And it's not that. I just want something really simple. That really pops through the mix. So I'm going to drag that into our drum bus like so, and I'm going to program it on every 16th like so. All the fun happens in the 16ths. And once that's done, we want to add some groove to this. So let's bring it down a little bit in volume. Make sure we don't have any untoward low end in there with an EQ. Maybe get it really tinny. And then I've created a sidechain compressor. And what this is going to do, if we open it up here, is take the input from this sidechain trigger track. And that is just at a short, sharp tick, which we never hear, a rim shot. And I've got it set to sends only, as I said, so we never hear it. And that's just going to duck everything against the kick. So let's just bring a little bit of that in. And now you can hear we've got that groove going on. Boom! Next thing we want to do is get a nice big fat snare. But what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to actually layer up a clap and a snare. So we've got more of those frequencies. Now, if you can find something that sounds great with one like layer, it makes mixing easier. That's the snare. Cool. Okay. Actually, that's a clap snare anyway. Let's just use that. I think that sounds pretty cool. So let's program this in on every other kick drum. Same as house music. And then let's just mix it in slightly. Maybe I will find another snare as well. Like that one. That sounds nice. So I'm just going to balance those two against each other, so I can bring in a little bit of sizzle underneath that clap. So it's really powerful. Nice. And then I'm going to group them together just so we can control that as one instrument, like so. Group, call that snare. And then we can see here, I can just bring that up to the degree that I want. Nice. Okay, next thing on our magic list is working out the chord progression, but not until we've created some interesting rhythmic parts with we need to save this, don't we? With a snare drum and a tom drum. But what we're going to call this, Korolova, Korolunda. Right, it's done. We can't unname it. The naming has been done. It is set in stone. So next thing we're going to do before we get that tom drum loop in there, I want to create the bass groove, because that's going to tell me where the tom drum is going to lie in between that, because the bass is more important than the tom. That is something that you can put on my gravestone. The bass is more important than the tom. Now, I know sometimes people complain, oh, you don't just use Ableton plugins. Well, you know what? If you want to make melodic techno, get Serum. You're welcome, Steve. Yeah. sometimes having a third-party plugin just makes it way easier to get the sound you want. So I'm going to create this from scratch. I would recommend usually just going through some preset packs. That's how producers usually do it. And that allows you to skip loads of this stuff that I'm about to show you, which takes time, you know. But first thing I want to do is choose the key of the track. Let's say it's in B, so it's going to be B minor because almost all dance music's in a minor key. So I'm just going to select that as our key, B minor. And actually you can see if we hit scale mode, it means we can never hit a wrong note. So most melodic techno is going to have a part of the track where it's just hitting the root note. And then there might be another part, as I'm going to show you soon, where you'll have a chord progression as well. So I'm going to just get the bass groove going first. As I said, all the fun happens on the 16th. So that sounds pretty groovy. And then I can just duplicate it. But now we have to make this sound not absolutely gash. Now the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to split it into two basses, sub bass and mid bass. And the sub bass I'm going to keep nice and clean. We're just going to have a sine wave and it's just going to stay nice and clean, but we want to get the shape right. So a bit pluckier, I think. A little bit of release to smooth it off. That's a nice shape. And let's just take out that top end click with an EQ. So that's just giving us the power in the low end. Now for the fun part. Oh, this is going to be good. I'm going to show you some stuff with this bass that I haven't shown on this channel before. First thing I'm going to do is get the shape right. So again, I'm going to switch it to mono so we're not having bass notes bleed into each other. Then I'm going to get that shape, like a plucky shape. And now I'm going to put a filter on. And this is where I'm going to go and try and get a biting mid bass for our melodic techno. So I'm going to assign that envelope to the cutoff, filter cutoff. So this is giving us our kind of main body of the bass. Now I'm going to layer up a couple of different layers. And that's why Serum 2 is pretty cool. You've got one extra wavetable. So you've got two oscillators and a third oscillator, and then you've got the noise and the sub as well. So you've actually got 5 different oscillators here, which is pretty cool. So next thing I'm going to do is just choose a sine wave. I'll assign that. I might put it an octave above. Let's play it with the main sub bass, but first I'm going to take out the low end of the sub bass. Sorry, the low end of our mid bass so it's not fighting with the sub. Come on, Will, you don't have much time, son. So there's our mid, and there's our sub. So now we can play them together and start working on this mid bass. I'm just trying to fill out the frequencies a bit. But actually, I'm not going to, yes, I am going to use that. And then I'm going to go for something a bit more interesting here to add some more character. I'm going to turn this oscillator on, assign it to the filter as well, and then just listen for some sounds that are a bit more metallic. To add some more of that pluck. Like that's already doing the job. I'm going to add some unison, detune it slightly, take off randomize so it always hits at the same position. And that's adding that little bit of grit that I wanted. Now I'm going to go to effects and add a little bit of hyperdimension, which is really just like a room reverb, to add some extra width in there. And now for the really fun part, something I haven't shown before. Let's go into the mid bass here. And then what I'm going to do is put a vocoder on this. So this is something that I actually got from my co-coach in the accelerator program, Nick, who is an absolute bass genius. But check this out. If we put a vocoder, always learning stuff still after 25 years or more, it's just, that's what makes music production so fun, right? So I'm going to put this, I don't know how he did it actually, but this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go pitch tracking, and then it's going to create this weird kind of vocoded bass. but we've lost a lot of the volume and the power. Let's play with this a bit. So now it's a bit like that Beastie Boys track, but I'm going to group this and create an extra chain. So this extra chain is just the original bass coming through this. And I'm just going to layer up this gritty vocoded one, and I might actually take it down an octave as well. And what we're doing is we're filling out those low frequencies, and it's going to give us a fatter bass. Okay, always a good thing. So listen to that difference. Oh, that's nice. Oh, how pretty. Oh, that's disgusting. I love you. I love you. There, now you're talking. Right, so now I want to talk about that tom groove that we were talking about. Let's just put those together, group them together. I'm going to put a sidechain compressor on there as well. I'll just copy the same one that we had for the hats. Let's just kind of minimize that. So I'm just going to copy and paste that sidechain compressor on the bass group, just to allow it to bounce slightly against the kick. Nice. Now let's get those tom drums in there. We've got so much to do on the magic list, and I want to get through it all because I've only got a few, well, not a few minutes, but not loads of minutes. So I'm going to go drum hit and get a tom drum. Something really big like that, just big and brash. Make sure it's not too loud. We don't want it to dominate the most important drums. This is just to add some groove. Whoa, what on earth have you done? What have you done? Oh, I know, it's that blimming routing thing that happens when you... That means I'll have to open this up because that tom is assigned to something that's already assigned to a different track. That's the annoying thing when you group drums together. The routing ends up kind of getting screwed up. Sorry, the MIDI mapping. Dance then, wherever you may be. I am the lord of the melodic techno, said he. Right, now let's put this in. I'm just going to put this in a cheeky little position, if it works. Yes, it does. Excellent. So it's just adding a little bit of extra groove, and I'm going to add some reverb directly to that as well, because I just want it specifically for this sound. Turn off snap. Not too long. Ooh, dooga. I might get a little tom intro there. So I'm going to load up Splice. I'm going to go tom. I've already got tom loaded up. Let's go tom intro. Come on, Will. You got to go faster than this. Yeah, that'll do. I'll have a bit of you. Thank you very much. So I'm listening for the timbre of the sound more than anything else. I can change the timing afterwards. I can chop it up afterwards. I can chop the living out of it. So 150 BPM. So I need to make sure it's warped to 150 BPM. And I'm just going to grab a little bit for interesting fills. Again, quiet. Oof. Let's find a better bit. What? Yep, I like that. I'll have you. So now we're just adding this little bit into the groove. Just quiet. Like, we could just add that all the way. Oh, I've got one more thing to show you I haven't shown you yet, actually, on this channel. So I'm just going to add this interesting groove. See, it's really subtle, but it just adds some interest to this. But next thing I want to do is add the main open hat sound. But instead of using a single sound in MIDI, I'm actually going to chop up a loop to add some extra texture again. as I've already done with this little tom intro. So the way I'm going to do that is just find something with a little bit of interest to it. Like, let's go for that one. So the only part I want is the open hat bit. So that's in between the kick drum and the snare. So that's going to be like this bit. And I don't want that transient there. So really, I'm just going to loop that. But I want to see if I can make it a bit more interesting. And I'm going to try and tune it to the track. Play with the performance. So it's got some extra crisp. And now we've got this for our main open hat. Let's just bring it in quietly. Let's take out some of the low end. So now we've got this interesting drum groove going on. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is work out the melodic riff. Now this is going to be very important. It's going to be a bit of a future rave type sound. So really grungy kind of saw wave. So I'm going to go melodic riff. And I was going to do this in wavetable, but as we've stuck with Serum, I'm going to use that instead. So let's open it up. First thing I'm going to do is write in the riff itself. Let's turn it down so it's not too dominating. It is going to be dominating, but not yet. Okay? Gently, gently. Now, let's program it in. Easiest thing to do is just hit the scale mode. I don't know why the scale mode's turned itself off. I wish it didn't, but we're going to go to B minor. And now we can hit scale and then just use the notes from within that scale and never hit a wrong note. Easiest way is start on the root note. And then we've got the syncopated riff going on. So to make a syncopated riff, if you've got 16ths selected, all the fun happens on the 16ths. Then you can program one in, skip 2 notes, program another one in, skip 2 notes, and continue that. And you end up with this really interesting polyrhythm, or polymeter rather. I think this is actually like one of her tracks. So now, with the kick drum, you've got this really interesting groove that happens. And it sounds really cool. But we want that to sound really gritty. So the way I'm going to do that is first dial in the right shape of the sound. So maybe a little bit pluckier, plucky little fella. Already sounding better. Maybe add an extra octave below as well. That sounds rubbish. That sounds better. I'm going to add some unison to that. And to the main oscillator. But then you can start getting that phasing sound, which we don't really want. So I'm going to actually remove the unison from our lower oscillator to keep it really crisp. And take down random. And then it sounds like a laser. Okay, I won't do that. Now I'm going to add one more, but without unison, to keep that middle really sharp. So we've got that really sharp kind of crisp sound. And then I'm just going to bring in a bit of that stereo width around it. Now I want a noise oscillator. Which is going to give that more aggressive sound. And then let's try if I can take this down an octave. Actually, that sounds better an octave lower, so let's do that. But then I don't need that kind of low oscillator here. Sounds pretty cool actually. I'm just going to take out the low end because we don't want this fighting with our kick and bass. And that low oscillator is just giving us the upper harmonics of that lower octave, which gives it that little bit of grit. So listen to the difference that makes whilst I have a sip of coffee. So that's off. And that's on. Nice. Right, next thing I'm going to do is show you a very special trick. I'm going to add some reverb to that. But I'm going to add a sidechain compressor after the reverb. So instead of having it powered by the kick, I'm going to take the input from that melodic riff. And what this is going to do is just duck the reverb when the riff's playing. And it will instantly make it sound more powerful. Nice. So now we've got this. But we want that to be able to open up over time. So we're going to add a filter to it, like so. And then we're just going to be able to open that up over time. We'll have to put all the oscillators through there so they're all filtered. And actually, I'm going to show you one more trick on how to make this really, really punchy. I want to add a little bit more punch to this. It might not work, but let's see, shall we? I'm going to add a very fast pitch bend. And this is going to create like a kick drum type effect. So I've created a second envelope, very quick attack, very fast decay, sorry, instant attack. And now I'm going to assign this to some of the pitch. But I don't want it going above there. So now you've got this kind of pitch bend happening. So it just gives it a bit more bite. I think it sounded better at that octave actually. Okay, I'm going to stop playing that over and over again so we don't go completely insane. And now we're going to get to the aggressive aggro riff before we go on to the chord progression. So after this has been playing and we've been like, yeah, this is cool, and it is, we want to have a little drop bit where it's just like, bra-da-da-da-da. You know the score. You know the score. So let's turn off these drums. We just want the kind of tom and the kick and then the bass and then that aggressive synth. Oh no, I deleted the tom as well. Taxi. Right. Let's just take out everything apart from the tom drums. Okay, cool. So I'm going to save this like so, and then I'm going to go and create this aggressive synth. Uh-oh, come on, Will. We've got a few more lessons to teach, so let's do it. Aggro synth. Boom. I'll just start with Serum. I could do this on Wavetable, but I'm not going to because I've already started, so I'll finish, as the man said in the program. So aggro synth. I'm just going to program in on the root note, like so, which is the B. Yeah, that sounds brilliant, Will. Well done. Good work, mate. And now let's just make this really stop and starty staccato. Like so. And now we want this to be really aggressive, but let's finish the riff first. It's a bit like Morse code, this, except better. All the fun on the 16ths. There we go. That sounds good to me. But we want to get that really kind of aggressive sound. So what I'm going to do is layer up a couple of oscillators, and first thing I'm going to do is kind of get the bitey noise sound. So again, I've got a second envelope. Let's get some noise on there and then just make it kind of go. Let's see if we can find something a bit more interesting. That sounds pretty cool. I'll have that. Just a bit different. Now I want to find a wavetable that sounds aggressive straight away. We can go for that electric guitar one again, actually. And then we need to add some detune, because that's going to make it kind of gnarly. And then I'm going to start using this envelope, this second one we created. Let's just tone this up a bit. This second envelope we can assign to some other parameters as well. For example, this wavetable position. It's going to add some more movement. I want to get something, again, really aggressive. Let's try wavetable position there. And it's all about just finding that right texture. That sounds pretty cool at the moment. Let's add some reverb on there. I'll have to create a second reverb for this because we don't want it fighting with the melodic riff when that comes in. So let's create that second reverb. I'm just going to copy the chain actually from our first one, like so. So we've got the EQ taking out the low end, and then I'm going to take the sidechain input from the aggro riff. So now it's like this. I might try and change that normal wave here for something else. Ooh. But now I need some of that body, so let's get another one in there. Nice, I like that. So now we've got this kind of effect on the drop. We go, okay, melodic riff, ba-ba-da-ba-da, and then we can automate that going up, of course, like so. So that's one of our riffs that can play one of our aggressive, like melodic techno synths. And we probably want to get a little bit of sidechain compressor on there as well, so everything bounces against that kick. Let's just mess this up a bit more. I'm going to throw on another of those vocoders. And we go into this stuff every single week in the Accelerator program. If you want to find out more about it, you can check the link below. But we have 2 live group sessions every week, 3 hours. You don't have to attend, but any questions you have and feedback on your homework, of course, will be given, because that's how we get results for our students. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff as well. But the most important thing is the homework, feedback, and the curriculum. So let's look at the using a similar technique that we use for the bass line. Ooh. So again, I'm going to create the chain and then just feed in that vocoder. And now we've got something really aggressive. Oh, that's fat. Now I'm going to throw a vocal in there because life's too short not to. So let's go purple, natural color of the human throat. Let's go vocal, female, and I'm going to go B minor because that's the key in which we are working, like so. Let's just loop that and listen. Give me a hell yeah if you're enjoying that to a if you're feeling holy. Thank you. No.
Focus on.
Hello, Kashmir. I like that. But I'm gonna have that. Oh yeah, like I'm just singing melodic techno now. So I'm all right. Calm down. Just cool your jets, love. Right. Let's go over to this and create some interesting trance gate effect on this. So we have to get it, is it warped correctly? I don't know what tempo it is. That sounds good to me though. So to create this interesting gate effect, I'm going off piste now. I'm going off piste, I don't care. This is what happens when I start enjoying myself. Right, I'm gonna get another serum just because we've already been using it, but it doesn't matter, you can use any synth for this. And I want to create the sidechain gate effect, right? So let's call this trigger or gate, whatever. Don't care. Call it what you want. I literally don't care, right? And now let's program in that trance gate riff. Like classic Paul Van Dyke type. Like so. I like to just have a really simple synth sound so you can tune in the exact shape of that gate. Then I'm going to set that to sends only. We don't want to hear that. But what we do want, oh yes, what we do want is to have it trigger the gate for the vocal. So I'm going to take the sidechain input from that trigger channel, which is called gate. Whoops. And then it's going to sound absolutely amazing. Hello, yes, I accept. I like that. Cool, okay, I'm gonna call it sad synth. Because they go down in pitch. Oh no, I've only got a few minutes left. Right, and then we do a chord progression really quickly. I want to do that kind of thing. So we're going to have the interplay between the synths. I'll just copy. Let's just bring that one over there. And then for this last bit, we're going to have that. So what I'm going to do for this first is program in the pitch bend. I might have to actually go out and then come back and do more on this because I'm enjoying it. I hope you are too. Oh, please do. And then, but I have to go out soon. No, no, no. I programmed in the wrong parameter. Right, not track volume. Delete. I thought it looked a bit funny. Pitch bend, that's the one. So I'm going to create this pitch bend like this. But we have to assign the right amount on the pitch wheel. I only want it going down like that. Sad synth. I'll cheer you up, synth, by making you sound absolutely savage. Right, let's just kind of work on that curve shape. I don't really want a curve on there. Yeah, that's what I want. But what I'm going to do is create a kind of slowing down LFO as well. I might actually have to come back after I've done what I need to do. So let's touch base again very shortly.
One eternity later.
Well, that was a very tasty meal and other responsibilities taken care of. So where were we? We were onto the sad synth. So this one, we're going to make it go wah, 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 like that. But with better wobs than that. So first thing, let's put on a filter. We're going to assign an LFO, which stands for low frequency oscillator. And it just kind of oscillates slowly, like that. But you can speed it up if you want. So you can go, which is what I want to do, that kind of thing. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So I'll just automate that, configure, automate the rate. I could assign this to a macro and then just automate the macro, but I'm not going to do that because I'm doing it this way. So now let's time that so it's got a nice amount of wobbiness. Like that. Yeah, that sounds good. And next thing we're going to do is create more movement in this. So we can add a couple more sweeps. We could put the second filter on and create something like a bandpass filter, like so. But we have to actually feed the sounds into that. So it's going to be more like that. So I'm going to configure, I'm going to automate this cutoff as well. And this is why it's nice to just start with presets, because you could do this but another 10 steps and it could take you ages. So it's better to start with a preset if you can, just because it's going to save you a lot of time and you'll probably get better sounds anyway, because someone spent ages creating them from scratch. But, you know, I'm just going to display some wizardry and do the best I can with what I've got. Ooh. So I'm going to create a second wave like that. Let's feed that. Let's just feed all the oscillators to the filters. What I'm also going to do is this wavetable position. So I want to create this kind of neuro bass type sound. I'm not going to spend too much longer on this because you get the idea about the type of stuff you can do when you automate these. Let's create a little kind of attack on that actually, so it doesn't start at the top. Nice. And now I'm just going to add some stereo width to this with some unison. Nice. And then I'm going to chuck on this bowed thing. No, let's turn that off. That's too crazy, even for me. Let's put on some hyperdimension, bit of compression. Haven't used this compressor yet. Compression's not really going to do much, to be honest, because it's a really... What's going on? What? I'm sure it sounded better a second ago. Ah, the LFO's not slowing down. Ah, it's gone to this thing. That's better. It's really annoying when that happens. Okay, quick, we only have a few minutes left. I want to arrange this and do a bit of mixing too. So I'm going to put just the hyperdimension on there. Just to add some width, some stereo width. Yes, that'll do. So now we've got this kind of effect. Yes, this is actually a banger. I'm going to throw a clap in there as well. So having a break is kind of nice. But remember, let's add that. With melodic techno, you often have these different synths kind of bouncing off each other. So let's just add some clap. I want to really like make that. So it's really like solidifying that little riff there. Why is that not triggering? This is the trouble with grouping stuff in the rack. I'm just going to put it A4 and then move it. That's what I wanted. Okay, now let's get to the bit where we're going to have a chord progression, and then we are going to arrange this bad boy, okay? Because there's only so long we can spend on this. So next I'm going to create a chord progression. And the way I'm going to do that is just first write in the bass notes with the bass, and then we can add chords that follow that. For example, if we were to duplicate this part and we want the bass notes changing, I'm going to turn off the sub bass so I can just focus on the one notes. We can hit scale mode. So then we've got this kind of effect. So the bass is changing there. And if we put some strings underneath there, that's really going to add the vibes. So let's just do that. And then we're going to get onto the arrangement in a few swift minutes. And the way we're going to work out the notes in the chord is like this. We're going to go and get the bass notes that we've created, which are the root notes of each of our chords, like so. Basically, it's the G, the E, and then back to the B. So we can remember that, can't we? The G, the E, and then back to the B. So more like that. And then let's put a string sound on there. I'll use Serum again because we've already been using it, and it doesn't have to be a string, but I want it to be a pad. So the way we'll do that, we'll just add some attack and some release. Like so. And let's add a filter and just have that open up and close down. So it's going to kind of go wow, like so. We'll assign that to a filter. Really basic, this one. And we'll add some unison. And we've already got like a nice string sound. So now let's make these into chords. Once we've got scale mode selected, I wish we would just leave it selected up here. Now we can hit scale mode and then just skip a note each time, building up from these bass notes like this. So very simple. Add some reverb. I'll do that onto the channel itself because we've already used these two reverbs for our main synths. Et voila. But what we could do is actually invert some of these chords like this. So I'm just moving them so they're closer together on the keyboard by moving some of the notes down an octave. So this is going to make them sound a lot more cohesive. They're technically the same chords, but we've just changed the order of the notes within the chords. So now we've got this. Nice. And now, when everything's together, we have this kind of effect. I'm going to bring in some vocals over the top of this, then we're going to do it, okay? So we've got these nice vocals, but I want some more, so I'm going to have to colour them purple. Again, throat. And then I'm going to open up splice. Trouble with splice vocals is, if other producers have access to them, then some labels are less likely to accept the track to be signed, for the reason that you could get 10 tracks out with the same vocals in the same week. And that is not a good look, right? Unlike me with my mid-riff out.
Focus on me.
Yes, that's the vibe. So I'm just going to drag this one in, like so, 124 BPM. So I'm going to make sure that it's warped to 124 BPM, not the vocal of our project, the vocal of the original sample. Get some reverb on there. Again, I could do this on the auxiliary channel, but I'm just going to do it here for brevity, and it's going to sound like this.
Close my eyes, I count to 10, I miss you. Tell me again, why didn't I follow you? Close my eyes, count to 10, I miss you.
Oh, bit desperate. All right, let's listen to this. I'd probably go for something. That's not even synced up. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, my patience is wearing thin. I'm going to drag that in because I think maybe that should be. I want something sexy, really. For this. No, you've been revoked. License revoked. Right, let's just now arrange this, okay? And then we're going to go through those 5 points that I hope you've been making notes about. So this bass note's actually a bit low, so I'm going to move that up an octave because I'm kind of losing the sound of that. So now we've got this. And I want that to go down actually at the end. Dun, 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 dun. So we're just going to go, because that's going to lead back round to the beginning of that progression nicely. So then we've got this. Actually, I'll just leave it there because the sad synth's doing it. All right, let's arrange this. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it. And then we're going to go to the beginning of the track. And we're going to start probably with the drums, but not all of the drums. So we've got something to build into like this. So we can get the top loop. We'll take the sub bass out straight away. Don't want that. We'll get a filter on the kick, take out the low frequencies. Get rid of that melodic riff. You're not coming in yet, son. Oh no. So it's going to start off more like this. We could take out the claps actually, and the snares. Yeah, that sounds better. This is just roughly as we go, okay? Yes. Acceptable groove. It was acceptable in the 80s and it's acceptable now. Now let's bring in that melodic groove. But starting off low. And then you could have another synth interplay with that. Like that. See? Alright, what are we going to do now? Here we go. Bring those drums back in, baby. And now we're going for the chord change. Again. See, now we're cooking. And now the main vocals could come in here. But sexy, not like the ones I found before. And then we'd probably have a break at that point. Like this. And that would obviously build up for the drop. So let's just try that. No, you're too loud. Calm down. Whoops. And then you have the bit where it's interplaying with each other. It's quiet. Sad synth, sad synth, sad synth, aggro. It's hard to sing a melodic techno. And then you have a riser and you build up. I don't know what's happened, but I'm having fun, right? Let's bring everything in now. I don't like those strings. Okay, alright, okay. I'm going to do a bit more work on this. I'm going to give it to you to download for free. Let's go through those 5 points of melodic techno. So number 1 is the drums are usually quite simple and crisp, and that's to allow space for those different interplaying synths to create the groove, which brings me on to number 2. Often there's a lot of call and response elements within melodic techno. So you'll have 2 or 3 really kind of aggressive sounding synths that will dance between each other, almost like robots speaking, plotting our demise as humans. So, you know, even AI robots. Then the next thing that happens, if we manage to escape the death robots, the track will often start just holding the root note of the key of whatever key the track is written in. And then when you get to a break section, it does allow you to have a bit of a chord progression, but they're going to be a simple chord progression. It's not going to be like a melodic house 8-bar chord progression. It's going to be like 3 chords. You're going to get 3 or 4 chords maximum. Then you'll usually have some kind of female vocal or maybe even an AI vocal. So not only are the synths speaking to each other and plotting against you, sometimes the vocals are too. It can be dangerous to unleash this sort of power on the world. You know, it's nice to listen to and have a dance to, so I'm willing to take that risk. The question is, are you? Why don't you let me know in the comments? There's the magic list. You can download that, and that's going to give you everything you need. Right, thank you for watching. You can check out the accelerator if you want to get your music sounding better than what I've just made today. And you can check out this video here where I go into even more melodic techno techniques. This one's had lots of views. People seem to like it. Probably better than the one you've just watched. So yeah, check that out. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you over there.